Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Sanctified Podcast. In each episode of the Sanctified Podcast, I want to talk about how normal people, or mostly normal people, became pillars of their community and an inspiration to those around them and became saints. My goal is not to convince anybody to be a Catholic or any sort of faith where saints are prevalent, but it's just to share some fun facts that I found interesting and think you might find interesting too. If you're listening to this, there's a good chance you'll find it interesting. So I hope you look forward to the episodes that I will share, and I'm excited to start. But first, let me give you some background with what I want to do with this podcast. Of course, if you disagree with anything I say, with the faith, with whatever, you're more than welcome. I encourage you to start some civilized discussion with those around you. Start something in the comments. I'm looking forward to getting to understand more views of the world, how people interpret everything, and just curious to see how your interpretations are of all the facts that I'll share. All right, so this next part, it's going to sound fairly scripted because it's a lot of info, and I want to make sure I don't mess up. It's just kind of going over how just a person becomes a saint and what it means to be a saint. So a saint, according to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops at least, is someone who meets three specific criteria. There's three different stages. First is the positio stage, and I apologize if I butcher any of these names. The ones that are in Latin, I'm going to have a hard time with because I do not speak Latin. But the positio stage is where their life is examined 5 years after they pass, they move on. The second stage is beatification, where an investigation is performed. They explore that individual, and there's an effort to prove that they performed a miracle. And if this stage is completed and considered a success, they have found a miracle, they lived a faithful, dedicated life, they are canonized, and once they're canonized, the entire Catholic Church can recognize that person, and they become a saint. All right, so let's dive into each stage in more detail. The first stage, the positio stage, is examining of an individual's life. There's two stages to this phase. The first one begins 5 years after they die, in which the bishop of their diocese starts an investigation that was prompted by a petitioner or a postulator. And what they do basically is they go around, talk to the people that were close to that individual, gather information about their life. How faithful were they? How dedicated were they to what they did? How much they believed in what they did? From there, a decision is made whether or not to proceed with the investigation, or if there's not enough evidence, it's just dropped dead in there. That's it. The second stage for this positio step only occurs if the consultations lead the bishop to believe that person is worthy to at least be beatified. He doesn't have the power to canonize anybody, but he can start the beatification process. So if that person led a truly virtuous life, the postulator will create a positio, which summarizes the reasons the individual should become a saint. The positio is examined by 9 theologians, and those 9 theologians decide whether or not the person was virtuous enough to progress to the next stage, the beatification stage of sainthood. At this point, one is considered a venerable. If an individual is a martyr, they will become a blessed instead, and they essentially just skip the title venerable. The second stage is beatification, and this is when a miracle is connected to the departed individual and is proven to have been caused by that one individual's faith and actions. Upon completion of the beatification stage, the person that performed the miracle are given the title blessed. If the person is a martyr, as I said before, there's no need for a miracle, but just because you're a martyr doesn't mean that you will become a blessed if you're not recognized by the church to have been truly faithful in your actions and efforts. And the last stage is It's the simplest in a way, but also the hardest to complete. It's the canonization stage. So this means that the blessed, the beatified person, has been recognized by the Catholic Church, and they are officially made a saint. Many people have been and can be beatified. This does not mean they will be canonized and recognized as a saint. It's the last step. It's a simple step, but it's very, very hard for somebody to pass this step. So in simple terms, a saint is someone who just lived an extremely virtuous life according to Christian, more specifically Catholic values, and they exemplified these values in every aspect of their life. The miracle that person performs can vary. It isn't always a blatantly obvious miracle. Sometimes it's this person was raised from the dead. Sometimes it's just a healing or something passed over where they lived that affected other areas. The people around that individual recognized how faithful that one person was, and they were moved by them to become more dedicated to their faith, or even to become a Catholic themselves. It's no small feat to become a saint, and it is a very noble aspiration to live as they lived. But it's not for everyone, to be honest. I don't know if I could do it. It takes an extreme amount of dedication that is rare enough in just a general person. So for that person to be part of the Catholic Church and extremely faithful to what they believe in, it's just a less than common situation. So now that we have an understanding of what a saint is, I want to share why I decided to create this podcast. And I hope I made it clear. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm just exploring ideas that I found interesting, because I'm recently a member of the Catholic Church. I was raised going to church, just Christmas, pretty much that was it. And I always wanted to be more involved with faith. I never took a leap to do anything. I went to church once in a while, just kind of spontaneously, when I was like, you know what, today's a good day. Let's go. But it was never like, it's time. Let's go. Let's stick to this. We got to go. It was just kind of like, yeah, sure. Why not? So part of the process of becoming a member of the Catholic Church is confirmation. In confirmation, we explore saints. We find a few that resonate with us. We find them interesting in some way. And then when we have it narrowed down, we explore them more deeply, and we find one that truly resonates with us, one that we can aspire to be like in many aspects, and we just have a sort of connection with them that may be hard to explain, because everybody's lives are different. Everybody has different experiences. There might be one thing that connects you more with this saint that other people don't really know about you. And it's a very personal process. And it was a little daunting at first, because there's thousands of saints to choose from. But once you get the ball rolling, once you have it narrowed down and you're exploring in more detail, I found it honestly a lot of fun to learn about. And that's kind of why I'm starting this podcast, to learn about more saints and to hopefully allow people who are in the confirmation step to find saints that they may be interested in, and they can listen to my episode on that saint if I've done one, and learn more about them. Maybe they'll hear a few things they want to explore more. Maybe I'll be the deciding factor. They're like, oh yeah, this saint is fantastic. Like, I've read a lot, but now I've heard what I want to hear. I want this saint to be my confirmation saint. My soon-to-be wife, my fiance, has expressed concern that a lot of the children that she interacts with, because she's exposed to children of the Catholic faith. I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm not trying to dox us or anything, but it's like they get introduced to saints and then blah, like, yeah, saints are there. You can research them. They're cool, but they're not taught in like great detail about these saints. So I want to give a way for children, for adults, for anybody to learn more about various saints, whether you're just curious, whether you need a saint for confirmation, anything. I love exploring history. I love learning more, and I hope you do too, because I'm really excited to start this journey with all of you. So in each episode, I will make an effort to explore a saint thoroughly, and I will explore as many saints as I can, but the church recognizes over 10,000 saints. So obviously I'm not going to be making 10,000 individual episodes. My job is made a little easier because unfortunately many saints' stories have been lost to history. We know the names of many saints, but what they did to become a saint, their lives leading up to sainthood, is just gone. We don't know what happened. Their stories were only passed down through oral tradition, or anything that was written was destroyed for whatever reason. Their stories are gone. We know their names, but that's all we know. Maybe one day I'll put together a list of every saint that has a little bit of information. Obviously, I don't know if it makes sense to do a podcast, but I can maybe create a document that I can share with you. And if you have any information through family tradition, or somehow you just know something about them, I would encourage you to share it, and maybe I can put together an episode on a saint that I never thought I'd be able to cover because I just couldn't find information on them. I will cover saints as prominent as Saint Michael the Archangel, to Saint Brendan the Navigator, or Saint John Jugan. And we'll just learn about saints together. I'll attempt to create an episode once a week. There's no guarantee that I will get an episode every week. Maybe I'll miss a week here or there. Maybe it's Easter or it's Christmas, or I forget to record. There could be any number of things, but my goal is to have an episode up once a week for you guys to learn, to discuss, just to enjoy, basically. I'm excited to start this journey. So without any further ado, let's get started, and I'll have my first episode on Saint Brendan the Navigator, who, yes, was my confirmation saint. I'll have that episode uploaded next week. Thanks for listening, and take care.